Hey, how we doing? It's Don, the auction professor here. It's showtime, so we're gonna go into some things here, and I've got a little update on my son. So we're just gonna talk a little bit about that first. We still do not have an answer for those of you know. My son does have a ventricular bigeminy, which is an extra heartbeat that shouldn't be there. I've got a ton of questions, so I hate to bring that up here first thing out. But I've had quite a few comments. I've had a lot of emails and personal offers and things like that. So I appreciate everybody who's made the offers, and I appreciate the comments and the thoughts as well. We hope to know more on Monday. He's going in for a whole nother rounds of tests at the hospital, so we will go from there. Just going right on through to the holidays. So hopefully everything's going great for everybody else too. On the last live show on Sunday, the unannounced ones, there's another one, the Bearded Picker too. I know his wife, he had said, has issues too. So everybody has these type of issues, and I'll just reiterate this one more time. This is why I don't sweat the small stuff. Stop wasting your time on all the BS that's not going to get you anywhere. Family, friends, and that's the most important thing. So anyway, let's hop off here. Yeah, I do have another background. I just wished my camera would do a better job on our imagery here. Hopefully everybody can hear me well tonight as well too. So again, it's getting to the Christmas season. For next week too, I will have a show still on the normal day. I believe Christmas is on Tuesday. So Thursday shouldn't be an issue. I will be in probably a different location or something different for next week. Obviously, we have family activities, and we're going to take some time off with our son this year and try to just stick close together and around the house and stuff like that, too. So we won't be as active next week. So just FYI, I'll have videos done ahead of time. Ian's been helping pretty much every day, and we've got some other things going on. So just FYI to everybody. For those who are new, welcome to the show as well, too, and I appreciate everybody who's here. I don't know if I'll go through and call out all the names at this moment because it looks like we already got quite a few on there. Typical day. So anyway, I usually get that one negative down anyway, so I usually laugh on that one. But anyway, we'll move on here. I'm going to have a contest today, too. I'll give away another postcard to somebody. So I've got some items here I'm going to show you. For those who are interested in getting a postcard, I would recommend you open up your email account and have my email ready to go so you can send me an email to my personal account that's in my channel About Me page, and I will give you a chance sometime in the show to win that. I mail them out free of charge, nothing to you. I pay postage, so it's just a freebie to get the word out and all. So again, it's going to be a contest, something simple. It's an objects I'm going to show you in the video, and then we'll go from there. So anyway, hopefully everybody's doing well too. Sales-wise, hopefully everybody is still good too. Now I hear some talk sometimes about people saying that the sales are going to die off, in just a few days. Most of what the people I see talking about are referring to the Amazon cutoff date. So if you're an Amazon seller, there is a cutoff date that they guarantee you that the items will still count and be in inventory for still this season, and will be able to get out before Christmas and delivered before Christmas. So that's the biggest date I worry about. In the fields and stuff that I personally sell, I do not worry about when the holiday is for what we sell. I could have a bigger month like we did last year in January, February, and March. Last year we just ran straight through. I had no drop whatsoever. People get their income tax returns. They get Christmas gifts. They're not buying all these elaborate gifts for everybody else starting in January. So, all the funds they had that they spent through December, it's a whole nother ball game now for us for January. Same thing for February, same thing for March. So I personally, if you sell a lot of antiques, collectibles, paper items, postcards, and all that, I don't see a drop right after the holidays. The big drop are the people selling toys and clothes that are people buying to actually use for this season or to give for gifts. Most of the items that we sell are items that people would personally buy for themselves for their own collection. So don't let off on the pedal just because the holiday you think is through. Again, it depends on what you're selling, of course. If you're selling, goods and stuff that people are going to use, that is going to drop off a little bit. But, you've got gift cards and things like that. eBay has bombed. Every grocery store around here has eBay gift cards. You can get Amazon gift cards. So don't take it as you're not going to get anything out of it. Just kind of let it ride through. That's my personal recommendations. We don't back off, just because Christmas is done or New Year's is over or it's the 3rd of January. If you keep pushing it, you keep listing, you keep adding stuff on there, you're going to keep those sales going, at least for a little while. Again, depending on what you sell. So anyway, hope that's a big idea there. Gives you some thoughts on that. Let's just see what we got going on over here. Welcome everybody who's popped in here. Let's see here. Let me slide down here. Welcome everybody. I see some good welcomes here. Welcome the Bearded Picker. Yeah, he's got a channel as well. If you have not seen his YouTube channel, I watch a lot of them, or at least have them playing in the background when we're packing or doing stuff in the daytime. So I was on one of his and popped in some comments too. These guys are really good. They're pretty knowledgeable. I was quite impressed with what I heard. So it just seems to be a nice group of guys who are pretty much like me. He's got similar history as well to me, so that was kind of interesting. He knows the foods as well, and I did a long time in foods, more than I would ever care to, admit to. Honestly, it's a rough job. So he's one of the few that knows that, luckily. So I see you, Sean John. Yes, you were number 50. I do remember those days, way back in the heyday. Welcome everybody here. I've seen a bunch of the same names, so I'll try and call them out as we get questions, because it looks like I already have about 40 or so different names in here as well. So again, welcome everybody. Wish you good luck to Scott. If I believe I got that right, the Bearded Picker's name is Scott. His wife has the issue, so we went through the same scare. So I completely feel for the guy, immensely. We thought my wife had breast cancer at one time. We did the CTIs, the MRIs. The whole works. It was just a terrible, 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 terrible experience, and probably one of the biggest worries up until my son that we've had as a family. There's been other ones, but that one was just serious because she has breast cancer in her family. Her mom had it, and she's had the mastectomy and the whole works. So, it's a not a good thing. If they catch it early, it's good. And modern science these days is at least way better than it used to be in survival rates. And catching it early is a good thing these days. So anyway, you need some background tricks. OBS. Use OBS and. You can hit me up if you want a couple sites where you can get some free public domain backgrounds. Some of them you can take yourself. I got a couple pictures that I've got to rotate in that are ones I've taken. So, you can use whatever you want in this, but I like the green screen. I bought a real good the Logitech Brio is what I use, but it's like the hardest webcam I've ever seen to get just right with the tones, the coloring, the lighting, the whole works. It always seems like there's just too much. And then it's just a nightmare trying to get it exactly right. I've spent an hour or two just this past Sunday messing with it, and I still couldn't get it quite right. But I got somebody probably going to stop by, and we're going to mess with it again, or Ian and me will hit it one of these days, or one of the kids. So anyway, let's see where we're at. Yeah, Don, it doesn't bother me. A thumbs down actually counts as viewership. It doesn't really hurt you. I haven't seen any rankings or any negative effects whatsoever. It just counts as interactivity. If you like the video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. It's up to everybody else. There's no rhyme or reason to, why people do stuff like that. It doesn't bother me. We're just move on from there. Again, welcome everybody here. Duncan VR. Hi, Don. I had terrific sales again these past few days, but I need to slow down. eBay work is not easy and can tire you out. Having a break over Xmas, family first. Hope your son is getting better. Yes, I appreciate it. Yeah, now's the time where I don't like to take a break, honestly, just because of what's going on. But, this year we are going to take, some time away from the laptop anyway. And just take some time out and be thankful for what we got. So, you got to do that once in a while. That's part of doing this. Without having a job like this, if you're working for somebody else, I couldn't just take time off. I never got the holidays off. Most people work through the holidays, even as a general manager or regional manager, because your business is always busy and running during fourth quarter. So you could never take it off. You're usually forced in a restaurant industry to take it off during the slow times of year. Whether you want to take it at that time or not, whether your kids are out of school and you can take them with you or whatever the case may be, usually you don't have a choice. So, I talk about, why we do eBay. The big drive for us is, family time and being able to do and say what I want, when I want, and not rely on anybody else. So that's the key for what I do. I mean, that's why we love what we do so much. So, I can't speak enough for the lifestyle that this gives you. So, I see people still make fun of it these days here and there, and, I just don't honestly worry about it too much. Is it running low over there, Ian? Oh, it's running low on this side. If anybody's running slow or lagging, you might need to reload your screen here. From my end, it's running a little slow on it. Doesn't seem to be on the other side, but yeah, we're still running slow over here. You're not running slow at all over there, Ian?
Was a little bit.
Yeah, just YouTube. We're just going to refresh it here just a second, see if we can clear up the stream a little bit here. Hang on, let's see where we are. Let me pop up here. You can kick off that one that said the wig or whatever it is. You see it?
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't just block the thing.
Another one in there I'm confused about.
Yeah, you're gonna get haters. I don't worry about it.
Cell phone one.
I'm not that far down. Sorry, folks. Give me just 1 second here. Jose Guzman, when selling old photos, say 1900, 1940s, do you sell them as mainly lots? It depends on the image itself. Images of cities or vehicles or events you can sell individually. If they're just family photos, random photos of, just groups of people, they're just bulk items for the most part of everything I sell. If you have an ID spot or something like that, it might be different, but for the most part, I just lump them together when they're just people and nothing interesting. Like if it's from like a World's Fair or a specific event, those almost always sell for more than anything else. So at least that's my personal experience on that one. Well, thank you, Brenda Yankowski. Yeah, we're just going to move on. I don't really worry about that at this point. There isn't much we can do. We don't know much about what's the result, why it happened or anything. We hopefully will have some answers and hopefully some good answers. Cardiologist meeting and then some more stress tests and another monitor and more EKGs before and after all this. So it'll be a full day. He won't be in school probably that day again. So anyway. Yeah, vintage toys, moronic pests, they do sell well throughout. We have not had the issue with them. They do good. I don't worry about anything collectible all the way through January, February, and March. We keep putting it up. I don't rotate. I don't change prices. Usually I don't run sales. Last year our sales picked up after Christmas, honestly, because not as many people buy collectibles and stuff to give to people. Obviously our sales do increase in December, fourth quarter in general, but last year, January, February, and March were just off the chain. We just couldn't even barely keep up on some days. Packing, was a 3-hour process almost every day, some of the time. So, you're going to have a couple slow days around Christmas, depending on what you sell. Probably, a couple days after Christmas, but I would imagine you're going to have some big pickups after that. Income tax comes in January, February, so that's usually when we see a big influx as well, too. And people buying and spending higher dollar amounts on stuff. So, this is the time to sell as opposed to buying. We try to buy all that stuff and what we can through the summer. So when summer rolls around, boom, or when winter rolls around, we already have the stuff. It's cheaper. You're buying it. If you're buying a lot of stuff now, chances are the prices are up because, it's selling for more money this time of year. So everything's up. That's one of the tricks of the trade. Buy when stuff is cheap. buy in advance. We're literally looking for next Christmas's items, for wholesale items, stuff that you don't have to bring back to the house, that you can sign a deal and you can, just ship out, or get an arrangement where you list it and, it's shipped directly from the factory or the warehouse that you have a deal with. There's several ways to do that. Those are usually, straight wholesale deals that you'll get a receipt and you'll be able to list those on Amazon. At least that's what we do with them. There's tons of stuff to sell. The Bearded Picker had the I'm not going to call it out, but there's a game that was out, and it wasn't around here, so I didn't even get a copy of it. But I know a lot of people. He had a real good viral one there on that, and a lot of people were just hunting all over the place, going to every one of these stores, Walmart's around. We only have 2 in local. I'm not a big driver these days, so I'm not going to drive a couple hours. It might have been worth it, but there's so many people around where I live that I don't have as much chance to get everything. My competitors, if I was going to do business that way, would pretty much be out 24/7 trying to, cut my throat on everything. So, yeah, let's wish Bearded Picker best of luck too. And again, things like that happen to everybody, and you just gotta kind of move and go with the flow and stop worrying about the small stuff. Don't worry if someone gave you a lowball offer, or wants to return something. I mean, that's just such petty stuff in my mind these days. I know if you're small, it could be a big deal, but if you're not making a ton of money, you should really have a secondary source. Don't ever quit your day job until you have enough income in, to cover for quitting a normal job and doing this full time. Some people don't have a choice. We rolled out of college and literally had to do something, so full time with this. So, everybody has some options, at least, with selling online. Let me see here. Truth Seeker for Yashu. Hello, I have a question. I have sold old 78s, and any advice on selling for top dollar? For us, we sell them for more money on Amazon. So if you haven't looked at Amazon, for us, 78s as well. 78s sell better on Amazon than on eBay or Discogs in general. Usually we mark them up like 20% or higher. There's no offers to be made, so they usually sell, straight out at my list price, no question. Some I've even listed, for $50 higher than I sold them on eBay. I list them higher again because the fees are higher, but there's less records available, so you got a better chance. I have buy box on Amazon, and like almost every record I have up there might be 1 or 2 discs that I have that there may be somebody else with a lower price, but that's about it. You're usually a one-off on Amazon and most collectibles, like if you sell trade cards or postcards on Amazon. Collectibles historical section, there's a ton of different categories in there that we list in. It's just a matter of bugging them. It took us a month to get into Amazon to sell collectibles. I was promised, and I've talked to people on Amazon, and they said that they're going to be pushing collectibles and going after eBay. So we want to be ahead of the game if and when that does happen. So because we do sell enough to, make a good profit off of Amazon. It's only $40 a month to $39.99 to get a business account with Amazon. So what the heck, Discogs is cheap. You got Etsy, you can sell records on, or prints or photos or movie collectibles or anything along that line. I have got close to 100 people on, so I'm going to do a contest here. If anybody's interested in getting a free signed postcard, it's going to have some, artwork probably on the back too. I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to let you guys decide on what's the most valuable piece in what I'm going to show you. The person who emails my account first with the answer is going to win the card. All I'll need is I'll send you a notice saying, hey, you won. If you want the prize, you'll just need to send me a address, and I will ship it out free and clear. You'll get to see what we produce, on me. So I'm going to show you some items here. These are all vintage. These are some oddball items. There's one item in here that's worth a lot of money, or a decent amount for what these are. I'll give you a minute here if anybody is interested. If you want to go ahead and open up another window so you have a link. If you don't know how to get to my email address, if you go to the About Me page here on my channel, just open up another tab. You can actually see my email address there, and that'll give you a chance here. Now, I'm going to show you these here. These are actually vintage figures from the 40s and 50s. Literally just got them today. Just got $1 or so into them. One of these is worth $45 all day long, maybe a little more than that. If somebody can tell me which figure out of all of these are worth something, worth the most, worth the 45 plus, you'll get a card. So this will give you a little hint here and a little idea on looking up stuff, see how good you can do it, you know, how quickly you can do it. It'll give you a chance. So, you know, these are good items as a general rule. Let me raise them up a little higher for it. Somebody might have already guessed which one it is. I'm not going to holler it out in the video, just in case, you know, there's not a lot of people interested. But again, one of these figures here, whether it be this one, the Indians, which this one's actually a rather large one, an early one, the little dude sitting here, or another Indian. This one actually stands up on his own too, but one of these is worth some money. It's something I look for. I've called them out in videos myself. Describe what the character is and the color. There's two different colors of red, so if you're going to do it, it's the pinkish red or the dark red, or you've got a tan, and then you've got a beige cowboy there as well too. So if anybody's interested, I give you a chance. These are items that I pick up and find all the time. I've showed many of these figures here in the past. I sell them really quick. You've seen some of the tanks and stuff that I got. Most of those items will be gone in 30 days. Most anything by Mark's Toys goes very, very, very quickly for us. The vehicles go well. I hold out for more money, so I don't push them out the door. You've seen some of the prices. I got 30 some odd bucks and 40 bucks for broken little tanks. So if you know what you're doing and you spend the time to research it, you can make some good money just on junk, basically. These are table cleanups or things you can get at Goodwill, because I do still go to Goodwill once in a while. There's usually not much there. I would starve to death if I had to live on a thrift store in my area. No Savers. Both Savers closed down. I've talked about these before, and I know some other people have talked about, I've heard Salvation Armies have closed some Salvation Armies, and there has been a few Goodwills closing in people's areas. I know some more Sabers have closed, so the thrift store market is hurting now, if you haven't figured that out. That's why the prices have gone up. We used to know the manager at the Sabres here. He now works at, I think, Harbor Freight. Not that that matters, but he was a manager there for a while. So we got some ins and outs and what they used to push and how much merchandise had to go through. I'm sure there's other people who have talked to managers at Sabres, but it's a rat race for the way they treat some of the people there. So it's no wonder they're having some issues, but that's part of why you see it, you know, why you see the prices raising and stuff on that stuff, especially with clothing, because they know everybody's sitting there and reselling it. Probably a majority of the market here in the city before they closed the Savers, you know, probably 60-70% was probably people reselling from what I saw. There was always resellers in there with carts full of clothing and stuff. We used to buy it there too, so, you know, no bash or anything on people doing that. I don't have the opportunity here. I might have done it and been a little more into it had there not been a huge group of competitors and the price had not been going up like it is. So, you know, I know everybody's feeling it, so that's why I say diversify. Cross list on many sites. You know, there's no one site these days that can rock and support most single people these days, or most businesses like this. None that I know that are, you know, regular. There's obviously 5% maybe or 10% of the people who sell that can do just clothing on eBay or clothing on Poshmark that make enough to live on. But for the most part, I couldn't do it. You know, there's no way. I'd literally, as I said, I'd probably be starving, you know, eating ramen noodles or bowls of rice every day of the week. You know, you got to do that sometimes, you know, so be ready. You never know. Yeah, Scott, OBS, I like OBS a lot. You can instantly switch back. You can set up scenes, and you can, for all the folks who do Google Hangouts is going bye-bye, if you didn't know that. Google Hangouts is being phased out. They haven't updated it in like a year from what I understand. If you want to do like multi-people chats, just do Skype. And with OBS, you can literally set it, I think it's NDI, you can set the setting so you can use Skype as a actual camera. So you'll import as a camera, so there's no screen grabs, no captures, no nothing. It's instant. You got another camera, and you can do multiple Skypes. With YouTube Hangouts, with Google Hangouts, it's capped at 320. With Skype, it's full 1080, so, you know, it's a big difference there, at least what I've seen, and I've used it, so I know it works very well. You know, we have multiple windows set up. You know, I can always pop on a different background or anything like that, so I enjoy it. You know, it's fun to work with. I like all the technical stuff, so for me, it's like a toy almost, but let's see where we're at here. Hang on. Yeah, I've heard that Truth Seeker for the cell phones. I'm not a big cell phone fan. I don't chat in the car or talk on the phone almost never while I'm driving. I can't tell you when I have. I've never been a big cell phone fan. The tests have been going back and forth. I know the older ones, there's been some semi-definitive proof with the old ones. Now the new ones are pretty shielded. You know, you take your chances with anything, I guess, these days. I don't glue one of these to me, so for me, it's not a big ordeal. But I know some people that don't live, can't live without a cell phone. So, that's their call, of course. Let me see where we're at. Yeah, I don't know why it pops up and disappears on here, but hang on a second here. Let me pop back up here. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, my YouTube, my feed constantly pops up and down. Let's be real. Well, that's good to hear. Not the bad part, just that you've learned a lot. Sorry about that. I didn't see that last part coming in there. Yeah, and YouTube, if anybody's noticed, they're popping up notices now on your feeds, your live feeds, your chats, which is good, I guess. I saw one first the other day here, so, somebody wants to make some insulting or rude comments, I'm just going to let it go. We've got somebody over here, Ian's blocking them for us, so we're not going to worry about that. They don't have to be around. Hey, Annie. Hey, Annie, I sent you an email. If you get a chance, it came from my private account. Just FYI. So if you get a chance, just take a look at it. Let's see here. Thrill of the hunt. Any idea of retail industry taking time off this time of year is near impossible. My hubby worked for Verizon, and they're blocked from taking vacation time November and December. Yeah, that's typical from everything I've seen. That's another reason why I am so glad to, again, be doing what I want and having the time with, family medical issues and things along that line. For me, family is number one. Even if I didn't make as much as I did before, I don't even care anymore. I would rather make a lot less money and be happy. Luckily, we have the best of both worlds. Money's coming in is just fine these days. I don't really worry about anything. I don't worry about, I haven't lived paycheck to paycheck in, like 5 years. So I know there's still a lot of people who do that. It's a necessity when you start out. We did it, Some days it would be, the kids are going to eat. What are we going to eat? Because we just didn't have the money when we got out of college. Debts come in and you do what you got to do, but the end result is for us, we were a family, and the four of us were tight. We're all here together. So whatever happens, we've always been through it by ourselves. It's just been us four since, pretty much I can remember. So, that's us, People who meet us in public think we're weird, either that or they get us. And I've said this before to other people too, but either they think we're just weird family, or they understand how tight we are. We're like old school family. So at least that's how I see us. Let me see here. Sorry to hear that, though, as well. Let's be real. I completely understand the issues. We had that big scare with the wife, so it's a terrifying experience to live with some things like that. But you don't have a choice, unfortunately, just like with our son and all. So thank you, Nathan. Full time, yeah. If you're doing Nathan, if you're doing eBay part time, I always say wait till you get enough income coming in to actually be able to do it. Don't just jump off one ship to get on a ship that you don't know if it's going to be able to sail properly. So if you've been doing part-time for a long time and you have enough inventory, in the drive to get it going, that's fine. But a lot of people I've talked to lose the drive once they're not working for somebody. They don't have somebody they're pushing them, telling them, hey, you need to get this done, you need to get that done. This is your assignment today. It's all on you this time. If you jump off and you start your own thing full time without any other backup. So I would always recommend having, a full-time income from eBay while you're still working full time. If eBay turns into full time and you can go part time any other job, that would be even better yet. So you're not going cold turkey and gutting your income. The longer you can hold off with both running, the more money you'll have in the bank. So you have more money to invest in inventory. It comes down to having enough inventory to run your business. A lot of people's bottleneck is not being able to find enough proper items to sell. Anybody can find items. You might pay too much though. They might not be worth a lot. You're not going to make break the bank making $5 a pop profit. when selling out a couple hundred items every day. It's just not possible. You're not going to find enough of those $5 items unless you're, a scrounger like us or something. But make sure you're safe. That's what I can say. If you've got kids, for us, I'll do whatever it takes. If I got to work 80, 90 hours a week to make sure that, bread's on the table, that's what you got to do. I think that more. The older I get, the more I think that, the kids are what really matters. My family and the kids, and you just come to a point where that's what matters. You don't think about this, and I've said this. I don't worry about any of that small stuff anymore. I don't care, about if somebody returns something. It's just cost of doing business. I always get dogged when I say that, but it's honestly cost of doing business. You don't see Walmart or any big company getting mad. Basically we're forced to do the same returns as Walmart, basically, with eBay. So, it's the same principle and aspect on it. So, yeah, Lex, now is definitely the time to list more. I don't let off. I let off on Amazon and FBA because, there's the deadline there for shipping this stuff out. So once that deadline's gone, I'm not going to be messing with FBA as much because it's just not going to sell as much. Everything else I do on Amazon is usually cross-listing from this time, or, listing 78s up there first as opposed to popping them on eBay. 78s aren't as good in December. It's the slower month for 78s, at least the Christmas, right around Christmas for us. So usually January they pick up, and then I got to order boxes and, pick up some more free newspaper. We get most of our packing material for free if you're aware. Let's see here. I collect taters these days. Bearded picker. Everybody has them. I got somebody who comes on, and we're pretty confident we know because it's usually right after I post it to our group or our page. And I've tested it out. But anyway, we get one, usually before the video starts, before they even watch it, and then the same person goes and clicks dislike on like everyone. I don't really care anymore. When the first day or two I saw it, when we first started months ago, it used to bother me, but I don't even care anymore. If we look at, our thumbs down versus our thumbs up, it's, one less than 1% to, 100%. It's a joke, so I don't even worry about it. No more fiascos for the bearded picker. Yeah, hopefully that gave you the answer, Jose. Let's see here. All profits from eBay are paying for very expensive alternative cancer treatment. It put me in 100% remission after conventional medicine failed. Very grateful to you. Yeah, I'm 100% grateful to eBay. It gives me the opportunity for our life and our kids and all. My wife, as I said, went through the scare with, breast cancer. So I've been there, our heart dropped, It was the biggest relief I could say I had up to that point when we finally got the final call that everything was going to be fine. And, till you're there, you just don't know. That's why my whole mentality on selling is different than a lot of people. I don't get frustrated. You don't see me complaining about eBay all day long or anything like that. I'm not saying there's not complaints to be had. For me, I don't have the issues. I don't worry about a little glitch or something. You just got to move on and go on with your business. I know small stores are different, but, we've got, like 50,000 listings or some crazy amount right now. So, I don't have to worry if even 1,000 listings have an issue. It's not even a dent in what we do. So, anyway. Welcome, everybody. Hang on, let's get down here. Rosie's Closet, glad to have you. Lex Hem. Can plates out of old books from the late 1800s sell? Yes, they can. What you want, if it's a Tipton, the Tiptons, here's the difference on. There's ones that are actually embedded in the book. They're part of the book. They're bounded in the book. And then there's what's called tipped in, meaning that it's only glued in on like one little strip of the illustration or engraving. Those are usually a little better if they're early from that era. Usually if you'll see a piece of tissue paper over an illustration in a book too, those are usually real engravings. The book plates you want almost exclusively are engravings, actual steel plate or copper plate engravings. And they're going to have a indentation in a rectangular or whatever shape the actual engraving is or the illustration is embedded, pushed down in a part of the paper. So there'll be a raised, almost like a border around it to tell you if it's a real one. Those are the ones I always hit up first. The actual engraved ones. Some of them too you can run into in some of the earlier books and stuff, like say 1820s or 30s. We always check them out, especially the maps and geography ones, because half the time, like 1860s to 1830s ones are actually hand tinted. They're actually watercolored. So each county or state or country will be actually watercolored. Somebody went in and did that to every single print in that book. So, and there's like Autobahn ones that you can sell too. There's wildlife ones that you'll see that are hand tinted and hand painted. I'll write that down here too, and maybe go over that too. There's a lot of different ones. The ones that are hand painted are always the best. They always go for decent money. Anything that's steel plate engraved. Hey Ian, can you plug that in, please? But anything that's engraved usually has some value to it. For the most part, I've been selling them. You'll see another one in my haul video, or what sold on eBay this Sunday's video, because I sell a couple a week on those, and they're literally like 1830s, 1840s, 1850s. The best ones to get are like military ones, like the Seminole Indian Wars or Mexican-American War, 1840s, or something along that line. At least those are the ones that I see. Yeah, check the cord. Those are the ones that sell the best for us. The hand-colored ones, of course. There are some in like Gaudy's magazine or newspaper that have like fashion ones that are hand-watercolored, and those always sell. Other than that, if you're looking at like magazines, if you're talking about 1800 ones, we buy them all scratched out, or just totally wrecked ones, and I'll cut out the print ads out of them. Now, they're not quick sellers. They're going to be long-tail items, but we sell a couple every single week. It doesn't take much to get your money out of them when you get 24 bucks or so for one little clipping out of a magazine that you bought a huge stack of them for like $5 because they're all missing covers. So, I've got people that save the damaged ones for me. I'll buy them in bulk, usually. If I can't sell any individual ones, then I'll just cut out the good ads and I'll put that in a bulk lot on eBay, and boom, I got some money out of it. Usually you can get big chunks and big stacks of junk ones, junk magazines, say 1920s or before, with some good ads. Quackery always sells like medical related ones. Sports ones, Spalding. I sell a lot of the Spalding sports equipment ads for like original basketballs from like not 1800s, like, yeah, I guess they would be 1890s, I guess is when I see those usually. Juggling clubs, those kind of things. Musical instruments, typewriters sell. There's typewriter collectors that buy them. Things along that line. So print ads in general are usually pretty good. Let me just show you a couple things here related to advertising and print ads. When you see old magazines too and stuff, you'll see like print ads for posters and things like that too. If you get a bunch of those from a good movie like The Wizard of Oz, they can sell. And another thing to look for are press books and what's called Showman's manuals. Now these are advertising books, and I just picked these up actually today. I got quite a few of them. I've got a pretty big stack of them, but they're from like westerns and oddball movies. They always seem to sell for us. I never seem to have a problem. But these are, let me show you what's inside one of these. When you look in a magazine or a newspaper, this is actually what you find the ads for. These are the actual ads. They'll cut these out. A movie theater will get these. They'll cut these out, and this is what they'll paste into the mock-up for the newspaper print or whatever the case may be. They'll literally send these in. These are called halftones. I used to use a daylighter. I think it was like a Model 3000. We used to do halftones for a home buyers magazine here in the city that I used to work for, Michigan, Ohio Publishing Company. But so I know these very well, and I used to work in a movie theater, so I'd be the one of the guys cutting these out and pasting them down and sending them into the newspaper back in the day when you used to do it that way. There's no PCs back when I worked at a newspaper. Or there were, but they were just so expensive and they didn't do that. But stuff like this is something you want to look for too. And as I said, I get a bunch of them. The better people in it, one of these has Orson Welles in it, and that's probably going to be the best one. Let me grab the Orson Welles one out of here. Now, I buy these all the time. I've got probably 100, 150 of these kind of things here. But better ones, Orson Welles, you get something like War of the Worlds. They can go for a ton of money. I've had some of these books that were even damaged with water stains, pages stuck together. But one of them was from Ben-Hur, and even all just crudted out, ripped up spine. I got like $95 for it because some of these are so exceedingly rare that you know, even in any condition, they don't show up. All people have seen is pictures of some of this material. So just keep an eye out for stuff like this. Showman's manuals. They'll say press book, ad slicks, campaign A, campaign B. Again, I worked at a movie theater, so I used to be able to get this stuff like for nothing, you know, when they were done with it, or they'd get 2 copies, or I'd collect the movie posters and stuff. I used to have a Revenge of the Jedi poster. I still got one somewhere in a box, but it's not the full Revenge. It's a Empire Strikes Back 1979 or 80 release that had the little snippet. I think it's an 82 re-release of Empire, but it has Revenge of the Jedi on the bottom of the corner. It's a teaser poster, it's called. They're like $125, I think, is what they go for now. So it's not the $1,000 Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Jedi poster, but hopefully that gives you a little answer on that. Or Micro Center. I'm not sure who Micro Center is, U-Haul. Brian, the Oak Brook Picker. I'll just call you Brian. I don't see another Brian in here. Kids concert. Well, good that you watched it. I was very thankful for Wade for putting me on. Wade was the first one I did. I'm semi-selective on what I do. I have changed my philosophy since my son's issue came up. You know, we're looking probably at, you know, a $70,000 medical bill maybe at this point, or more by the time we're done. So, you know, we got to look out for our future and, you know, be safe in case my son needs, you know, maybe surgery or something. We don't know at this point, so I'm not going to speculate. But, you know, we want to be ready for something if it does happen, so. My return video was an experiment left. I'm trying to see if you would give me a concierge. Fail. Let's see here. Please do a video on etchings and what to look for. I did write that down. Once you know how the etchings, you know, what to look for, it's pretty easy to tag an etching out of a book. I buy books all the time if they're damaged. I usually can get them cheap, like at a table cleanup at the end of an auction. If I see Edgar Rice Burroughs, I always buy those. Even if you just cut out the pages in there, you can usually get $15 or $20 for the actual illustrations out of like a 1910 or before Burroughs book. Stuff like that. That's the kind of thing I look for. Military always. Jennifer, I need to extend my gratitude to you. I watch your videos every day and have learned so much. Because of you, I will be able to grow my eBay business. Hang on, I've got the arrow down right there with items that I love. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's honestly part of, you know, the goal here is to. I had a mentor, and I've talked about him on many videos, a Lou guy that I worked for a long time. And, you know, there's so many people who don't really get it. There's no real good guide that I've seen that really gets into depth on what I personally do. Most people sell clothing and stuff like that. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not trying to cut on anybody. I did clothing and we did book scanning for a couple years, so I completely get the business. We went into it. I'm just not a clothing guy. I hate the mannequin aspect of it, and the return and the complaints on a size, or you miss one little speck. What I hated the worst, and I'm sure everybody's done this, you'll look it over at the store, a shirt, let's say Tommy Bahama or something, just throw one out there, a real nice Tommy Hilfiger or something like that, and you'll get home and there'll be a spot, a stitch wrong or something. It totally kills it, you know. And I don't sell anything with damage like that, and unless it's something really high dollar. I sold a Big Lebowski sweater with a big stitch hole in it, and I did sell that one because those sweaters always go. It was a dude sweater. If anybody's seen the movie, it looked just like the one in the movie, the dude. I still got $70 for the thing, even with a hole in it. And I literally showed it very well. That's the only time I've sold something damaged. I wished it wasn't damaged because we would have kept it. My son loves the dude in that. So anyway, I do appreciate the comments, Jennifer. Thank you very kindly. Yeah, we've got friends in Alabama, too. We do get down that way semi-often, actually. Not as much as we used to, but... Let me see here. Sell in bulk. We sell some items can sell in bulk better that way. It just depends on what you're selling, literally. Most items we try to sell individually because the profit margin's there, and then we just long tail them. If you're in my Patreon group, I did a video on just the mechanics and the mathematics on longtail, how it works down to the T. I literally gave some examples on literally a lot that we got for $75, and I ran it through there. I've got it just on Patreon again, just because a lot of people aren't into that. This is something specific I did for the group. So anyway, let's see here. Do you cross-post on eBay, Amazon, or do you have completely different items? I cross-post, and we have completely different items. Again, you've got to know your market. So if you know where things sell better, that's your primary source. Some items, though, we list on both sites, and I'll list them higher. I'll raise them up, as I said, 20%. If it's, let's say, an item on Amazon, it goes up 20% over the price I have it on eBay. Your fees are a little higher on Amazon, plus you have the initial overhead and all. So I usually make more money on records on Amazon. If I'm doing, obviously, FBA is a whole different monster there, so that's a different avenue. You got to judge it by, how quickly you can sell it, what the market will allow, and get yourself as close to that buy box as possible. I don't always shoot for the buy box, but if it's a hot item, we still sell it anyway. Most items, though, we cross-list. Some items I have on 4 different places. Some items will be on eBay, Amazon, Discogs, and even occasionally they'll be on Etsy, that same exact item. We do not pay for a secondary or third-party service. Those services charge you by how many listings you have in their system. So with the amount of listings we have, I'm not paying a couple $1,000s just to have somebody monitor which listing sold on one site and where we have to take it down at. It's not a huge ordeal. You have so many items up, and the chances of, the same item selling on 2 sites around the same time is just so slim. It's never happened to us ever. So, cross my fingers, if everything works out great. Let's see here. Let's move down just a minute here. I'm not going to call that one out, Jennifer. Whoever's got that in there, we'll give it a little bit here just in case, and we'll go from there. But I will give the card out. I've sent out, I think maybe a dozen or so at this point free on the house. How does Dollar Tree name brand items, and are they okay to sell? Any site that may help with pricing 70s. I've talked about it before. I have videos literally on grading and pricing. Pop Psych is one we use. There's a bunch for records in general. There's 3 or 4 sites that I use. There's a few that I'm in some groups, and I have access to sites that maybe everybody wouldn't have, but I trade with some people, so I have some ins and records. We've done records for a long time. I've got maybe 250,000 records in-house in 2 different areas right now. So I mean, we're big into records. Records are a ton of money. You get the right one. We sell some 45s for over $4 grand a piece. Usually once or twice a year I'll get one that high. A couple times a year we get a record for $2,000 plus. One single 45, 7-incher, 2-song track. Usually 60s Northern Soul. I think every one that we sold in those price ranges has been Northern Soul. And I just put a video up talking about Northern Soul and 45. So if you want to see $1,000 plus records, look at that video there. It was just up in the last 2 or 3 days. I got a video going up tomorrow that's going to touch base on some questions from some of my Patreon group, as well as questions I had from my jewelry videos that I had up. I had a ton of questions on marking, so tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon at the very latest, there'll be a video up on silver markings. I'm going to give you an inside site, not really inside, but one most people don't know about. It's the bomb. If you want to see something and know how to tell what you have in silverware, jewelry, and markings, tomorrow's video is going to have all that in there. It's plain simple. It's to the point. It gives you everything you need to know. With what I show you in tomorrow's video, you won't have to find, you won't need a book, you won't need a price guide, you won't need a Hallmark guide or anything like that. This what we're going to discuss tomorrow goes into completely everything you need. This site has provided me with 100% of the items I need to look for were found on that site. And I'll give you a second one tomorrow too. So if you really want to know jewelry markings, silverware markings, even to know what kind of patterns they are, I'm going to give you that site tomorrow. Some people here I'm sure know what it is, but I've used this site for a couple of years. Knowing in what we do niches. So what you have to know is the sites for these niches. Is it a tobacco label? There's a tobacco site I've talked about it. Is it non-sports trade cards? There's a site for that. Baseball cards, obviously everybody knows there's a site. There's special sites just for postcards. There's special sites just for stamps. And most of these sites that I talk about have like identifiers and comparability to look up and stuff, or even literally price guides with tied in Scott's stamp catalog numbers for, like, say, for the stamp one. The postcard site has millions of them up there. You still do better selling them on eBay, in all honesty. I use sci-fi sites for information on collectibles or selling one-of-a-kinds or things along that line, or ACEO cards. If you don't know what an ACEO card is, look that up. There's money to be had there, too. You can print them yourself. You can draw them yourself. There's ACEO cards that sell on eBay for, maybe $1,000 on a good day. So it's basically like a hand-drawn trade card. Look it up. There's a definition for it. I'm not going to holler that here. We got a video on that coming out probably in the near future, too. So let me pop down here. Yeah, I know who Frank is on American Pickers. I've watched that show. I don't really watch it much these days. I don't have much time. We don't do much TV these days. Usually I'm relegated to, maybe an hour at the end of the day when I'm relaxing, winding down just before bed. And yes, Lex, you are correct. They overprice themselves. They always say stuff's worth more, or they'll, get it for a certain price and it should sell for more than what they got it for, way more. They're understating it in some cases. Now, I don't know whether they do that so they can sneak in on this deal or what the case may be, but let me pop on down here. For Goodwill actually sends stuff overseas, if you're not familiar with that. We knew somebody who worked at the Goodwill when we lived in Mississippi. They were required to bale so much pieces or articles of clothing, and they were sent to Africa. That's where most of Goodwill's rejected clothes go to. They are going and sent to missionaries, at least the ones in Mississippi, all the people that I talked to there. So Goodwill does actually do something, or did. They literally sent them, they got a deal with a cargo ship that would load them for free, and then they would take them down there basically their donation was the transportation of the goods to South Africa or wherever it went in Africa. The lady that did it, she was 82, the one that we talked to, sweet old lady. She was very helpful. She actually graduated from the some Goodwill organizational program and stuff. So, and I know Salvation Army does that as well too. At least from what I understood when we were in Mississippi, 8-10 years ago. So, again, they may not do that anymore, but Goodwill used to do that. They used to actually donate those to missionaries and stuff like that. Whether they supply the transportation or the missionaries actually paid for the transportation to take place. Either way, if the missionaries did it, it would be, it's free. They're, tax free anyway. So hopefully that makes a little sense. Yeah, Savers is a profit operation, definitely, most definitely. They do donate to, as U-Haul said. Thrift of the Hunt, yeah. Church sales and church thrift stores are usually better. They don't overprice things. You can get older items usually. I get more collectibles at a church sale or a church thrift store than I do at a normal one. I mess with religious items too, so I do always go to certain church sales in our area. Every one they have, every single one. There's some specialty ones that just sell jewelry around here. They'll do $2 a piece, anything on the table. We found Tiffany pieces, sterling and stuff. We always go to stuff like that too. And they have a lot of religious ornaments and pendants and charms and medals and relics specifically. I always look for relics. That's a key thing. Religious items I always sell. I sold a couple real nice ones this week. Usually you're getting a bag of religious charms at a church sale or a religious thrift store for $1. Sometimes they give the religious items away, and those are usually high dollar ones. If they give it away, I usually offer them a donation, especially if I'm going to sell it. I don't want to feel like I'm taking something from an organization who's doing it for charity. So, that's your call whether you do that or not. But a lot of them give away the Bibles and things, and we do sell a lot of Bibles. Most Bibles that we get, we do sell, especially the early pre-1900 ones. Military ones as well, too. World War II, World War I's always sell. And they don't sell for a ton of money, but, a decent Bible from World War II you can get $20 for. If it has the guy's name in it, his rank, where he was stationed at, where he served, or any history, they can go for more than that even, so. Let me see here. Yeah, I wouldn't open a store. Brick and mortar is not for me. We used to do flea markets back in the day on my weekends when I had a weekend. I would never enter into a brick and mortar store if I didn't have to. If that was my only hope, that's all I would do. Yeah, Dollar Tree sometimes. As to Dollar Tree, what we used to make a lot of money on is they had shoot, it's a box of tea. We could go in there and always get it, and then Kroger sold it around here for 3 times the price. And that's the first time we caught on to that because it was something my wife liked. And we looked it up online, and sure enough, we could even do FBA at the time on those and still double our money buying. And it was like a imported, maybe it was some kind of green tea with orange in it or something. It's a specific brand. My wife would probably know it. She's not handy here, but there's tea bags. They're in boxes of tea bags at Dollar General, that any of the dollar stores we've seen it at. We've always made money on those. I just don't go for, I got to make so much or be able to get it in a big bulk for it to be worth my time is the reason we don't do too much of that. But the opportunity's there. If you check out Dollar Tree, Dollar General, any of those dollar stores, scan some of the items there. You use your barcode scanner on the phone, see what they're at on Amazon, see what they're going for on eBay. We've sold, peanuts at some of these places, big boxes of bulk nuts and walnuts and stuff. This time of year, Kroger's and a lot of the grocery stores buy in bulk. They'll make pies and things like that. And when they're running with only 6 months or less on those big bulk boxes at the end of the season when there's no more pies to be made, we usually go in there and get a deal with the manager. And I buy 10-pound boxes of walnut pieces. I'll buy, pecans. And, whatever nuts we can get. It's usually just nuts and stuff like that because those are usually the items that they order a bunch of, and they never know how many orders are coming in. And let's say the box goes for $45 on Amazon FBA. I can usually get them in the $10 range. That's just an insider for us. We've done that for like 3 years now. I got a deal for the one here, so I'm not going to worry about anybody snaking in on me here because I've known the guy for a long time. So we do get stuff like that. So keep an eye out. Dollar General has some items like that, not in big bulk, but, the teas and around the holidays usually sold for us. You could turn, a couple of those a day if you're FBAing it. eBay would be a little harder to turn and your profit be a little less. But if you lowered the price down on some of those teas and things like that, you could make a good money. But again, it was 2 and 3, 4 times sometimes I could get out of it because it was something that they just couldn't get all the time. And it was seasonal to some extent too. So if you do Dollar General, look up stuff like that. That's where we found the most opportunity. You're not going to make it rich, but you can clear $5 all day long on some of these items, $4 even. It may sound like a lot, but if you're doing Amazon, you've got one listing. You can have it up and running on Amazon Live before you even paid for that item. It's just a matter of opening up your seller account on your phone, changing a quantity, or sell similar, or sell one yourself. That's all there is to it. That's what we do when I retail arbitrage. If I'm retail arbitraging or something along that line, I literally try to have it up before I leave the store. And in some cases, I'm getting the ka-ching if it's on eBay, if I'm up in my quantity, or on Amazon, and get my notice that I've just sold a couple. So, and sometimes I haven't even paid for them and I've already got 2 gone, that have to be wrapped up and shipped the next day. So it takes a lot of patience and a lot of digging around to find these items. Scott found a good one there too. I don't know how many is going to be left. And I did hear somebody actually text me on that earlier today that they wouldn't let him buy any of them. So they figured they were a seller because they had a whole cart full of them, and they stopped them in mid-tracks and wouldn't let them check out with them. So you're running into that. I also had somebody tell me that they've done this for years now, and they wouldn't let them return them all at once. They said you violated the return policy by buying them in bulk to actually sell, and they wouldn't let the person return them. I don't know how true that is. It's somebody I don't talk to very often, and I don't know them very well. So, take that with, a grain of salt. But that may be coming down the road because, they're trying to actually stop this type of activity. They are. They don't want to give, somebody like us the opportunity to make money on them. They want to sell to the, the typical family, I guess you could say. Let's see here. Welcome, Mike. First-time listener. Let me slide down here. Steve Mason, I just missed one here. If I missed somebody, I do apologize. My feed hops all over the place here. Bottleneck for most people, and I've said this, this is one of my things from talking to a lot of people. I get emails all the time. Daily I get emails on several different accounts, and people text me or message me something. Bottleneck for most people is sourcing. It honestly is. Probably the next bottleneck is not having enough time in the day to list and keep everything going. So, you have to cut corners in time wise to see where you can save and bulk stuff up. So somebody will take a whole bunch of photos and enough for days for one person to list, or we'll bunch stuff up. We'll do all postcards, all California postcards, all Michigan postcards. Every second that you can save is another second you can list. So if you sell the same item, like 100 California postcards, you're not changing categories, you're not changing shipping, you're not changing anything. You set up yourself a routine, and always do the same routine every single time you do it, unless you find a better way, obviously. I'm always looking for a better way. But we set up policies, so I never have to worry about shipping, return policies, or anything. It's all set up in there. I have templates for everything. All basically we do is hit sell similar. I'm changing a title, a photo, a description, and a price. It's moments. Again, pay attention to your speeds, though, too, for your internet service. That can help you, too. Some people have slow service. Believe it or not, people still use dial-up. So depending on where you're at. So just keep that in mind. Service, your speed on your internet can affect your ability to upload photos quick enough to be, a minute or two to list any given item. I know that sounds crazy. You can't do that with clothing or boxed items or certain collectibles or toys, because you usually have to have more than one photo, or 2 or 3 photos, 4 or 5 photos, 6 or 7 photos, and more of a description than that. So, that's key to it. Sourcing wise, why I say you have to know more than one category. Your bottleneck is when you only know so many categories, you can't find those items. So if you can expand the items that you know, it helps to open up that bottleneck, so it's a bigger bottleneck at least, and you have more opportunities. You're not just looking for five items when you go to one store. You're looking for 50 items. I don't get skunked out usually when I go someplace. The only places these days I get skunked on and I can't find anything good are thrift stores. We spent a couple hours at, I think it was 3 thrift stores a couple weeks ago. I found 3 items. Only one of them was something that I could turn around and resell. One was a shirt that I actually liked for myself, and then I got a boom arm for a mic there, minus all the attachments. If you use certain mics, you can use a cheap boom and just drill some holes in it. So I buy stuff like that too. You can stretch out the springs and do stuff. I'm cheap, so anytime you can save money, I don't mind buying clothing or anything at a thrift store, even to wear. So I know people think you got to have new everything, but I save money. I would rather not be flashy, not buy a expensive car, even though we got the money, because you never know what the market's going to do. You never know around the corner somebody's going to walk up to you and have $10,000 worth of merchandise. It's the best merchandise you ever saw, and you don't have the money to get it. So we have a slush fund. I've got backup. We've got employees, so I always have extra money in separate accounts. So anyway, I don't know how to tell you how to specifically fix that bottleneck either, Steve, because I don't know what you're selling now, where your skill level is, and how many items you source for. So learning more items if you can't find enough of the items you're selling now is the only way. Cross-listing is another help on that. So if you have a limited number of items, if you cross-list them on multiple sites, it gives you more of an opportunity. So it should increase the amount of items that you actually sell. That's always been key for us. If I've got them on 2, 3, 4, 5 sites, you're increasing your sell-through rate on that item. I don't really worry about sell-through rate, but it increases it when you're in a state where you don't have enough items to sell. At least you'll be able to sell the ones you do have and recoup your money a little quicker, so you can go out and buy more items. If you're not going to auctions, local live auctions, you're missing out. That's a key area to buy. Wade from Wade's Ventures, he does a lot of the storage units. I just don't have the space or the patience to mess with going out here. It's cold. A lot of them aren't heated, so there is one that I'll probably be doing here in the real quick future here. Only one, because it's from a picker who has passed, and I have a chance to get his locker. I kind of feel a little weird about that, but it'd be helping out his wife. So anyway, whatever you can do to do it. You don't have to necessarily sell the same things we sell. People buy out restaurant chains and their equipment. We've done that many times. People buy out closed out stores. They'll buy farming equipment. Whatever you can sell. You've got the opportunity to market it from, on Facebook across the board. So there's no, downsides for some of these items, from my point of view anyway. Let's slide down here. Yeah, for us, I see you talking about weight and stuff. We don't do priority for the most part. I might use a flat rate if it's like 1,000 postcards or something, but for the most part, everything goes parcel. If it's over a certain weight, we use our UPS account, Airborne, or FedEx. Get yourself a business account. Get yourself an EIN number. Here's your start. You get yourself an EIN number. Set yourself up with all the major shippers. Some of them are tied into eBay. Many of them are tied into Amazon. There's third-party sites if you really want to go that route too. I usually ship from the site that we're from. I don't usually mess with big, heavy items unless they're willing to pay the freight rates at it, or they're willing to pack it up and pick it up locally. You can do local sales too. Again, I sell mostly small stuff, so I don't have that concern mostly. I don't usually look for big items. Occasionally, I got a soda dump bin a while back. It was a huge piece. We ended up crating it up. I built a wood frame. The guy paid me $100 to crate it, and he paid for shipping. He had a semi truck actually show up at our house, and they came up with a pallet jack. I made a box around a pallet that I got for free at the giveaway place down there. So there's ways to get big items out of your house too without actually paying to ship them. Have them check it out, inspect it before they pick it up too, to make sure it's not going to be a returnable item. So anyway. Beauty items. Personally, we have only sold a sparse amount of beauty items. We used to sell HBA. Health and Beauty Aids is HBA. HBA, Hub and Non-Foods is what they call them in the industry. I worked in a grocery store for a little while. I don't mess with them because of possible liability, especially the ones that you can't tell if they're open. There's no seal on them. I'll never touch those. The only thing I usually sell are like nail polishes, and I found better luck selling those on eBay in bulk lots, even if they're new and sealed. Sometimes, like in an Eckerd's or something, they'll have a clearance and they'll have the big totes, and you can get a couple hundred bottles of nail polish. Usually I sell those to crafters. That's usually where they go to on eBay when they're the funky colors. Or there'll be seasonal colors, and maybe I'll split them up like Christmas colors and sell them as a batch of Christmas nail polish. Decorate the halls, deck your halls with, nail polish, something like that. Put a little catchy title into it. You have to be cleared on Amazon to sell any kind of stuff like that, so I don't mess with it either. Yeah, Annie's pretty knowledgeable. She sells a lot of what we do too. Pocket knives, those do sell for us always. Yeah, Jennifer. Amazon, if you're ungated, either one's fine for most things like that. I can't tell you of a specific site that sells better, whether it be Amazon or eBay for those kind of things. We've sold them on both places, but mostly I stick to eBay. Glass jarred items, closed up items. I don't really do with much that goes on the face or anything like that. Again, just out of liability. There has been some issues. We do have a BOP, so if you're selling HBA non-foods items that could have a possible expiration date, or any type of health related items, like we sell food occasionally, like as I said, nuts. We have a BOP, which is business owner's policy. So if something happens to somebody from an item I sold, I am covered insurance-wise. You got to be sure you know what the coverage is. I do it sparsely when I sell those kind of items because I don't want my liability to be very high on those. So just take that in consideration. Anybody who's doing, your business, a full-time business, and this is your income, get yourself a BOP. $100 a month if you're doing, say, $5,000 or so at the most. I can give you some recommendations. I don't get any money from anybody, so if anybody wants one, it's going to be a private recommendation. I do have a national company that can supply it, but if you run around trying to find a business owner's policy for what we do, for reselling, there's only 2 or 3 in the country that will take you. And it's going to take you hours to figure out which ones they are. Just honestly, I went through that when we first started. Just like having life insurance, have an insurance policy for your business as well too. It's a given. So if I'm out or the internet's down and I can't sell, or there was a disaster or something, I'm covered. It's going to pay my wages as well based on my average weekly income. So it's like having Affleck, but you're having a actual business policy package. It covers everything. It's all at once. It's an encumbrance package that covers every aspect of my business. The more you have insurance-wise, obviously, the more you're going to pay. So it covers your computers, your shelving, your inventory, the place you're running your business out of. It can cover your transportation vehicles. It just covers a lot of stuff. It's always safe. It covers burglaries. It covers natural disasters. Make sure you have all of that. I know it sounds crazy for some people. You're just starting off. you're new, but eventually you're going to get to a point where it's your income. And you got to protect yourself. If you're working for somebody else, they have the insurance. You're working on your own, so you don't have workman's comp, so you darn well better have yourself covered. Yeah, technically you probably could get workman's comp depending on some issues, but it's a fight as a self-employed person to get workman's comp for yourself as the sole proprietor of your business. Just keep that in mind, at least from my personal experience. Getting on gated on Amazon is getting harder too for those who are not aware of it. Yeah, Annie, I like looking at the magazines too. I love looking at stuff, and that's part of why we buy and sell what I do. It's probably why I don't sell much clothing. The only clothing that I still mess with, and most of the time it's just something for us. I love leather jackets. I've got like 21, I think we counted actually, of my personal size. I only buy them if they fit me. The kids wear them. We rotate them back and forth. So anyway, you're welcome, Lex. Let's be real. Just bought something on eBay. It was sent buried in popcorn, real popcorn with butter. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. That's pretty crazy. That's probably one of the worst things I've seen. My pet peeve on people sending stuff, they'll send an article of clothing that we buy, or the wife buys a shirt, and it'll just be shoved in a, not even a poly mailer, like one of the ripped up cardboard or paper ones with the gray paper in there. If it gets wet, then the clothing's wet, and the dye from the packaging or even the handwritten, if they write it in hand, can soak into the clothing. I don't get people. You know, you got to bag everything. You got to protect it. I don't use popcorn kernels either. I use crumpled up newspaper because I personally hate popcorn noodles. Not just because of the environmental issue, but I hate they cling to everything. It's murder trying to get those little tiny specks off because of static electricity. So that's what I personally hate. You know, I never use them because I don't like them. Nothing wrong if you do. Whatever works for you, honestly. Well, thank you, Jennifer. Wade was fun to be on. He stumped me on the last question. I was... You know, we don't do this for money. Anybody who's been on YouTube, unless you're like, you know, a million views a video, you're not going to make a ton of money. You never could. I couldn't live on Amazon. We barely break even, as I've said at this point. And I'm not really out to get some money out of it. Maybe a little more now, only because of my son's issue. But, you know, I do appreciate the comments as well. So I noticed there was quite a few people on there. I new to doing the Google Hangouts. I'm an OBS person, so I didn't do any comments on the video, unfortunately, but you know, I wished I could have said hi. I'm not sure who all was on. I'm looking at a different screen than everybody else, honestly. Let me slide down here. I have 1,800 scripts from plays, and doesn't even know what platform they would be valuable because they aren't on eBay. Honestly, stuff like that, you're just not going to find much of a market for, in all honesty. It's definitely not going to go on Amazon. The only other area I could think is selling them in bulk as like a rehashed diary. I can't think what they call that. There's a name people call it, like outsider art. You can sell some of those maybe on Etsy for like scrapbooking, maybe even. If you can't sell them as what they are, put a bunch of paper together, do a junk drawer lot of paper, or a bulk lot of just random paper items if you can't sell them individually. At least that's what we do for everything. Etsy is pretty good on some of that. You have a lot of artistic people that buy off Etsy, so we'll bulk them up sometimes like that. Scrapbook lots go very well for us. Can ads and illustrations out of old newspapers sell? Yes, they can. I actually have a video covering print ads. The better ones, if you're looking at a newspaper, are almost exclusively going to be just cars from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, muscle cars mostly. You'll see some that are for specific events that sell very well, but you want the whole newspaper for some of that. If it's a car ad, though, and it's a big one for like a, say, a 72 Mustang or something, it's a full page ad, that can go for 20, 30, 40 bucks depending on, you know, how nice the ad looks. I don't mess as much with newspaper ads as vintage newspapers because I'll just throw a newspaper out there. Usually we sell a junked out newspaper, maybe we have a nickel or quarter into for 10, 15 bucks. They're usually long tail items, but we sell one. We paid for our whole month's worth of long tail items, so it's not a big deal. You just have to understand how long tail works and be able to afford to do long tail. If you're new, you can't do long tail. I don't know many people who can when they're new. So again, it depends on how long you're into the business, whether you can afford to do something like we do. It also depends on what you're paying for your listings. We pay 5 cents or less. It's usually about 2 cents for the first 10,000. Anything over that, it's about 5 cents we pay for per listing. Some people are paying 25 cents or more per listing, so I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you know what your costs are. I've got videos on breaking down on costs as well too, but know your costs. Know if you can handle my style of business. My business doesn't work for a lot of people. They don't get it, or they don't want to wait, or you want to be quick flips. Again, nothing wrong with quick flips, but you just can't find enough quick flips these days to flip everything in a day or two. Usually we're lucky enough that we flip something and we pay for whatever we buy the first day it goes up. So that's part of my philosophy anyway. And I've expressed it. I have a Patreon group too as well. Dyson vacuum today. Yeah, I don't pay attention to most of those sales they had going on. Coogie sweater. You can sell damaged goods. You definitely can, Stone Creek Picker. Welcome, Steven. Yeah, we picked in Alabama. My wife's family's from the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. We used to drive from Florida to Mississippi constantly. We lived in Florida when we worked at Disney. So I completely agree in that whole area. Mobile, there was some areas out there. Montgomery was always great for us. In Mobile, there's a big flea market that runs on the weekends, and I think it's maybe called Mobile Flea Market. It's right there on the coast. Literally, we've been there, dozens of times. It's a lot of new stuff, but if you're lucky on the right day of the week, you can hit them before they put out all the good stuff and rake out. We have in the past anyway in Mobile. Yeah, Annie's right. With vintage clothes, you can sell damaged goods better, just because they're not available, and people will take them in any form they can get them. Like leather jackets. If it's a decent quality leather jacket, they can be restitched, they can be repaired. I know a little bit about that. We have a sewing machine. I do repair some things like that. Best case for something like that is to find a matching color. Like, say you're fixing up a vintage leather jacket. Find a matching color that you can tear apart one jacket to make a new panel for the other jacket. It's I shouldn't say fairly easy, but you can usually match. As long as it's not a zipper, I don't mind messing with some of the jackets. Usually you can take a jacket apart by the seams. If you're going to wear it, it's going to be a little harder to sell it that way, but you can take them apart and still get some good money out of it. It's a good high-dollar jacket. And you take them apart at the seams, literally with a stitch remover, unstitch the lining if it's a lined jacket, and literally cut it out. Take out that piece that you have and cut out a section out of the old jacket, the jacket you're going to repair it with. We do a lot of repairs on items. As long as you list it, it's good. So we're able to recoup money from stuff that most people would just trash out. And usually we get it cheap because of that. So I don't mind sinking, say, an hour into a jacket I might make an extra $100 out of by touching it up or something along that line. So let's pop on down here. Do I invest in physical silver? You're talking about sterling. Jose, we do scrap silver and scrap gold. We do it a lot. Usually I wait till I get a couple pounds of silver, or if silver's up. We did cash out a bunch of silver the other day. I think it was $16.72 an ounce is what we did it. I didn't pay anywhere near that, so we tripled our money on silver. But usually I do silver at $2 or at 2 pounds worth. There's one specific place in most people's cities that there'll be a guy that buys everybody else's silver. Your job when you're a scrapper is to find the person that pays the most in the city. I called everybody in town and asked them what they were paying. You got to do it when you know what the current price is, because they're going to check the price. So you're not getting, conflicting amounts and conflicting numbers. But the people we sell to in here, he actually melts his own, refines it himself, and makes his own jewelry. He's got a little foundry. I've seen his kiln and all that stuff. So that's the best source to do it, because they're gonna purify it themselves. Usually, if they mess like that, you can even sell your gold filled, which is about 8 karat for the most part. So we'll get a bunch of gold filled, and for gold filled, you need a lot of it for them to even take it. It's got to be worth their time. Most of the ones we go to, or at least the guy we go to, has those big 5-gallon, like a pickle bucket full of just gold filled junk, and he'll just melt it down or take care of it all at the same time. Well, welcome back, Studio 1231. Good to have you on. Yeah, I see you with the comment flipping south there. We've sent some rolled, but I can warn. Well, I guess it's your personal preference. We personally send them flat. I show how I pack those up in the videos too. The Walmart boxes, the 14-inch cubes, work perfect for almost any print ad sheet you can have. And if you're selling it for 20 or 30 bucks, you cut a box in half. You've got 2 panels to wrap up your stuff with. You're gonna sink an extra, say, 35 cents into shipping it out. I always ship them that way. We've got some homemade versions of ways you can ship them for free tubes. We use stuff around the house, so I don't even buy tubes if we do roll stuff up and ship them out. Yeah, the 10 by 14s are usually like Saturday Evening Post and things like that. Let's see, where are we at here? Yeah, maps, and Annie's right on that as well too. Maps and yard long photos. They're the 3-foot photos. I've shown them before. They show up quite often. Usually military images. I do roll those. If you're lucky enough, they already come in a tube, and you can just put that tube in a box. Is what I do with them. Yeah, we've done Dollar Store in the past. We've just got so many sources now that I don't mess with too much of the Dollar General. If you need inventory, don't be shy of going in there. Target's usually very good in the clearance section at Target too. We did retail arbitrage at Target this year before it was really going with any other items. We were lucky enough to score. We sold a ton of refrigerator water filters. That was where we made a ton, a couple $1,000 real quick in just a weekend. Extra money too. Appreciate it, Mr. Mark. Yes, go ahead and hit the like button if you haven't hit it already, if you're enjoying the video. Linda, I've had a hard time getting motivated to list. I love to go out and find the great things, but terrible about getting it listed. Music is always a help for us. I have a playlist for pretty much everything. You got to like what you sell, too, so that's a big key of business the way we do it. We enjoy what we do, so I don't mind listing it. It's kind of like a treasure hunt, but you never know how much you're going to get out of that score, that treasure, until you list it. So you got to have some motivation to do that. If you get to a point, too, you can always hire somebody and help. Somebody can list and you can be sourcing at the same time. It doubles your exposure, doubles your amount of stuff up, usually. Gary, what percentage is your business wholesale and other? We sell on a lot of different sites, so wholesale business is not a huge chunk of it through most of the year, but for the holiday season, it's maybe an extra, say, $8,000-$10,000 through fourth quarter for wholesale. So again, it's not a huge difference or a huge influx, but that's mostly the profit we're making is $8,000-$10,000, depending on what we're selling. This year will be on the high end, will be more than we were last year. And if we can score a deal for next Christmas this month before January, we'll hopefully undercut some of the reasons why we didn't make as much on wholesale. We wanted to make like 10 to 12 this year on wholesale, but we were already being skunked in January of this year for this Christmas. To get your wholesale in on some of these items, people buy a year or two in advance, so you've got to do it in advance. I know a lot of people think month by month or even week by week they're looking at things. I look a year or two in advance sometimes because that's when it's cheaper. It's cheaper before the market's changed. You run some risk if you get the wrong item, though. So we've had the same item. We know there's a market for what we sell. It's just exclusively pretty much wholesale on Amazon. Shipped to them, so I don't have to worry about it. It's actually shipped from where we buy it wholesale to Amazon with our labels on it. So it cuts out the middleman. I mean, a little bit here. I don't have to bring stuff home just to ship it straight out. So instead of them shipping it to me, it goes to Amazon with my labels, which I supply. So it cost me a few extra bucks to have somebody put the labels on, but that way I'm not double shipping. So I'm not paying for an item to come to the house and then paying for it to go to Amazon FBA. So hopefully that gives you a dollar amount. Percentage-wise, it's really low for what the amount of money we sell on. We've got 2 anchor stores, another eBay store, then we sell on Discogs, as well as Amazon, Etsy, and several other places. We're just now getting the toys situated, so you'll see our 9th revenue income, which is coming from toy lines, which we are creating. This year we hope to go full steam on that, and we've got trademarks, patents, the whole works coming out for the construction, and copyrights as well too on the name. So there's more to stuff like that. You always do better when you don't have to worry about sourcing. So we've actually created and have a line of stuff that we're going to be creating. We're working on some now. So it's not just about buying stuff to sell. You have the opportunity, and this is better for us. We did private branding a couple times. We didn't make much money on it. We broke even and made a few bucks. It wasn't worth the time, the hassle. You get the wrong item, you could be stuck with all that inventory, and I know many people who have. So I'd never recommend private branding, even though we did okay. It just wasn't a thrill for the amount of money we made. But if you can create your own item that you can mass produce, and you can just put one listing up, boom. I mean, that's a good key for us. That's what I'm looking to do. Get one item and a second item and a third item, just like our artwork. We started off, not making a ton of money. We're over 15K in my printed artwork at this time. So, it's a bunch of different types of things we sell that are munched together to make one big business, enough to sustain ourselves. As I said, it's just so hard to do, make a full-fledged living just selling certain items on eBay. You got to branch out. You got to find other sources, other items to sell. There's just no other way around it these days. 10 years ago, you could, make a fortune on eBay. 20 years ago, we could have made $1 million probably a year on eBay if we were smart and knew how it would work better as a full-time job. We thought no one would be able to do that full-time. It wasn't even a thought in my mind. Had I done it, my life would have been a lot better, honestly. Let's see here. Let me slide down just a minute. Brock, I'm not sure who you're asking on the silk shirts. We don't buy too many silk items if that is for us. Liberty Mutual. I called around and I picked it price-wise. We got ours through, I'll just shout it out. It's home site. It's through Geico. It was far cheaper than anybody else we called. You can increase it by 100,000 coverage for your inventory too. That was the biggest thing, was covering inventory as we increased our inventory. It's called, I think, home site is what it's called. Literally, we got log into our Geico account, and it's all tied together. So anyway, they're not technically the same company. It's like a subsidiary of Geico, but that's who we found that was the best around for BOP. For us, Geezer Man, we actually were on Poshmark, but we dropped off. I stopped doing Poshmark when we got out of the clothing. Poshmark just was too much work for the little bit of sales we had. And if I could have worked eBay with those same items, I probably would have sold them on eBay anyway. So I'm not a big Poshmark fan. We don't do a lot of ladies' clothing, and I'm not really up on selling it. I know the brands. I just don't like clothing in general. So for me, no, I wouldn't do Poshmark. If you're in mostly men's clothing, I know they're broadening their scope, but it's just not for us anyway. We did it. We stopped. We're not going to do it again unless they change some drastic means. But we're getting down to the end here, so I'm going to have to cut it short in just a second here. Again, I've got the contest. If you haven't entered, I showed those earlier. Chances are there's been somebody who sent in a answer for that. Again, we're giving away a card today, so for the person who sent in the answer, I will probably send you an email out in the morning. I've still got a couple things to do online, so I won't have a chance to go to my email today. Again, my son has some issues. We've got some life aspects going on, so I don't have as much time as I had before. But hopefully your sales are going good. I appreciate everybody coming on tonight. If you haven't hit the like button, can you please hit the like button? Let's get some action going here. Show me that you really like the video. I try to do everything I can to get out videos that are helpful to you. So anyway, I appreciate you being on. Have a good night, and we'll call it quits here.